Let's bring Pat McFadden into the conversation now. He's the man who's going to be coordinating Labour's general election campaign. He's the Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. And he's also the Labour MP for Wolverhampton South East, I should mention. Mr McFadden, you must be cock-a-hoop with these results. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they are tremendous local election results. We've won councils and seats in places that we haven't for some years. It's changed the electoral map. I think it's given us a sense of belief and confidence. It underlines the progress that we've made in recent years. And of course, if I can be allowed to be a bit local, it was all capped by that wonderful result for us in the West Midlands mayoral contest last night and my own constituencies in Wolverhampton South East. So I was particularly pleased to see that one.
Well, you must have been relieved about the West Midlands, not least because the Labour-run council in Birmingham has been bankrupted.
Yeah, and like a number of local authorities, you know, it's in financial trouble. Local authorities of all different political stripes, I should say. Birmingham is not the only one in the country. And of course, that was a difficult thing for us during the campaign, but we managed to overcome that and just win by the narrowest of margins. But, you know, as they say in politics, a win is a win and one is enough.
A win is a win, although the House of Commons projection, if you translate the local election results into a national picture, suggests that the Labour Party will fall short of an overall majority. I mean, I appreciate we haven't factored Scotland into this picture, but at the same time, what does that say about Starmer's leadership? Because I appreciate you've had a very, very good local election result and you've had good results in your mayoral election, so congratulations on that. Credit where credit's due. However, if we look at the share of vote to the Labour Party in Blackpool South, for instance, it's lower than it was in 2019. We haven't got a picture like before 97 when Tony Blair rose to power of, you know, an absolutely outstanding night for Starmer. It seems that the electorate is still rather ambivalent about the idea of Prime Minister Starmer.
Well, let me make 2 points in response to that, Camilla. First of all, on share of the vote, what we look for is the map, the electoral map of what's happening in the key seats. You mentioned that one in Blackpool, but if I look at other key constituencies that will be decisive in the general election, places like Nuneaton or Milton Keynes or Thurrock or Cannock, we're doing well in these places in a way that we haven't for some years. And, you know, you can boost share of the vote just by piling up votes in places where you're already strong, but it doesn't actually win you anything extra because you're already winning there. So the thing that we really look at is the map. But the second point I would make is I'm the first person as the party's election coordinator to say there's more work to do. When it comes to that general election, I don't want to make predictions because not a single vote has been cast in it. And what I would say is that the really good local election results that we've had have given us a sense of belief that we haven't had for many years. But we know we've still got work to do to win the trust of the British people, to stop the chaos that we've seen in recent years and turn the page on the Tory years. And that's what we'll be trying to do between now and whenever the Prime Minister calls the general election.
If the Labour Party can't win an overall majority and we're in a hung parliament situation again, then would you consider doing a deal with the Liberal Democrats or the SNP? I appreciate it's a hypothetical, but I'm asking you if you would consider it.
I think you know what I'm going to say to that. We're not thinking about deals of that kind with anyone. We are aiming to get a majority government because the country needs stability after the chaos of the Tory years. And you know, we will represent that stability, turning the page on that chaos, and that's the case that we'll take to the public between now and the election.
Mr McFadden, I want to speak to you about the sort of Gaza effect on the Labour vote. First of all, can I clarify something? Are you still Vice Chair of the Labour Friends of Israel?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, so what's your opinion then? You obviously saw that independent candidate that was very much standing on a pro-Palestinian position in West Midlands eat into Richard Parker's vote there, getting 11%. We've seen this picture mirrored, haven't we, across the UK in these local elections. It's a little bit like these pro-Palestinian candidates are eating into the Labour vote in the same way that Reform are eating into the Tory vote. Ellie Reeves, your colleague, has said Labour will, quotes, rebuild trust with Muslim voters. Does that mean the Labour Party might have to change its stance on Israel having the right to defend herself?
Well, I think it's not across the country. I think it's in some pockets. And I did some interviews on Friday where I said this was an issue for us in some pockets of the country. But two things have guided our position all along. One is the one that you just mentioned, which is Israel's right to defend itself after the appalling attacks on October the 7th. That will remain. We will stick up for that. But we also want to see a better future for the Palestinian people. And there's a terrible humanitarian situation there in Gaza where some people are facing hunger. We need to get aid in, and in the longer term, get a better future for the Palestinian people. These two things have guided us all the way along. So we understand why people have got a humanitarian concern for what's going on there. We want a better future for the Palestinian people too. And if we were to be elected at the coming election, that would be a big foreign policy priority for us if we won power.
I know, but I'm just trying to drill into what Ellie Reeves, or indeed members of the shadow cabinet, mean by rebuilding trust with Muslim voters. How do you really do that unless you move away from your position of being supportive of Israel and switch to a position more aligned with, say, George Galloway's Workers' Party?
No, you don't have to do that. I think what you do is you say to people, we understand why you're concerned about innocent people being killed. We all, we share that concern. We want to get proper aid into Palestine. We want the people there to have a better life. It doesn't mean doing what you described and, abandoning things that you've said in the past. We don't have to do that.
So how do you build that trust with Muslim voters then, Mr McFadden? Because they won't vote for you if you still remain they're not going to come over back to you, are they? If Keir Starmer continues with his positioning on Israel, they won't come back to you.
Well, I think you say to people, we understand why you feel strongly about this. We want to help the Palestinian people too. We want a better future for them. That doesn't require you to change what you've said in the past. I think it's showing an understanding of why there is a humanitarian concern for people there, because they are living in a very difficult and desperate situation.
OK. Can I ask you a question about London? The campaign between Sadiq Khan and Susan Hall at times was, quite punchy. We had Wes Streeting, your colleague, the man wanting to be the next health secretary. He tweeted this in advance of that campaign. A win for Susan Hall and the Conservatives is a win for racists, white supremacists and Islamophobes the world over. Do you think Londoners who voted for Susan Hall are racists, white supremacists and Islamophobes?
Look, I think elections are often heated. I'm very relieved and pleased that Sadiq Khan won. I thought he always would win. I never believed any of this panic that thought he was in serious jeopardy. And the big question I think about this is, if the Tories really thought they had a chance in London, I think they should have taken it more seriously. I don't want to be unkind about anyone, but I don't think if you were taking it really seriously that Susan Hall would have been the candidate.
I agree with you.
And I can't understand why they thought if they had a real chance that they picked her to run. So I'm pleased and relieved that Sadiq has won and we can turn the page on that now and he can continue with an unprecedented third term.
Respectfully, that is not answering my question at all. I agree with you that the Conservative Party campaign headquarters could have done a lot more for Susan Hall. But I've asked you whether you think that people who voted for her in London are racists, white supremacists and Islamophobes. Because that's what Wes Streeting thinks.
Well, look, I would not describe the electorate in that way.
No, so he was wrong, was he?
Everybody's entitled to make their choice, and I'm relieved that the Labour candidate won, and I'm pleased that he won. If you want
So
to
was
ask
Wes
Wes about his
Streeting wrong?
comments, I suggest you get him on your programme.
I will, and he often comes on this programme.
Bring him on.
But should he apologise?
Oh, that's up to him. As I said, if you want to speak to Wes, you can get him on the programme. I'm pleased that Sadiq won the election.
All right. Pat McFadden, thank you very, very much indeed for joining us this morning. Great to speak to you.
Thank you.